are live. What's happening, folks? We got a couple of 3 people in the room, in the chat. How's everybody doing? Wow, Brian, what's happening, buddy? Good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping in. What have you been up to, Brian? Mr. Cruz, what's up, Double A? Good to have you this evening, man. Good to have you, bro. Appreciate you checking out those videos, the whole 9 yards, man. You my man. Here we go. It's too early. I'm not going to bag on the Cowboys till probably week number 5 or 6. Carlos Calzada, what's happening? Darnell, my man, how are you doing, buddy? Good to have all you guys in here, man. Chris, a budding superstar in his own right. Good to have you. Darnell, what you been up to? We'll give them a couple more minutes, man. Couple more minutes before we get rolling. Tonight's topic: common mistakes we all make on the grill, on the pit. Whether you're a newbie or an OG, we all still make these mistakes quite frequently. Chris, good to hear, man. Have you cooked with it yet, Chris? I'm telling you, that Boar's Night Out White Lightning, man, is money. What did you put it in? On. Oh, my man, Sergeant Major Harkey. What's up, Kev? Good to see you this evening, man. That is awesome. Good to have you. Good to have you. Double A running that SPG and double garlic butter. Folks, I'm here to tell you that is money. Yeah, that is money. You're going to love it. Yeah, you are going to love it. Tomás, ¿cómo está? My brother Tom. Good to have you, baby. Good to have you. TPC, the poor conservative. As usual, man, always a pleasure. Chris, those ribs and thighs are going to be banging, man. You're going to absolutely love them. You are going to absolutely love them. Guys and gals, this is the first time, man, I've had my buddy, one of my old Army comrades from way back in the days here. Please, everybody, welcome Kevin Harkey. He's a sergeant major right now, currently, probably on closeout leave. He's getting ready to retire, so he is on what we call terminal leave. Everybody, please welcome Sergeant Major Kevin Harkey and thank that young man for his awesome service. Good to have you, Kevin. I still got to put some of this good Texas barbecue in your mouth, man. Let me know when you're going to be around.
Is he still making barbecue sauce?
Kevin, the wife wants to know, are you still making that barbecue sauce? The one that messed up my entire kitchen. Took me 2 days to clean. Stacks, what's happening, buddy? Darnell, you did a battle with Circle Star Brisket Rub versus Patriot Barbecue Biscuit Rub. And the results are coming out this Saturday? Or was it last Saturday? That's going to be interesting. Mr. Carr, good to have you. Andre, dude, I'm telling you, Andre, I knew Andre Patterson back in my college days, man. I knew Andre Patterson back in my college days. So I got to find a face to go with this Andre Patterson. I absolutely do. All right, guys and gals, welcome to another chat, man, another episode with Mama and Papa Joe's. We really appreciate you hanging out with us. Man, and I always sleep on this. Help us out. Hit that thumbs up button if you're enjoying this conversation. I've got Mama running things from the back side of the cameras, man. Any questions you have, we'll try to get to them. If you feel like you really got something to say, you want to hop on, let me know. I'll drop the link in the chat. Oh, man, Kemker. Man, I don't know to what I owe this pleasure, because hell must be freezing over. I have not seen these guys in ages. And this is this the young, is this one of the young Kemkers, or is this dad? Good to have you either way. Is that I see Brandon's picture. All right. Hey, James, what's going on, buddy? So, guys and gals, this evening we're going to be talking, man, about some of the common mistakes we as cooks make, both on the pit or the grill, whatever the case might be. And as we tackle these mistakes, I'm not going to hit them up in any particular order. It's just as they come to mind. So some may be mistakes later in the cook. Others could be at the start of the cook. But I want to definitely, one of the first things I want to hit, and as you run across in your mind one of these mistakes that you've made or you've seen somebody else make, hey, feel free to drop it in the chat. Like I said, I will drop the link in the chat for anybody that wants to hop in here with me for a couple of minutes, and we'll make that happen. First thing I want to talk about, man, is a dirty grill. One of the largest mistakes we make. Darwin, the link was sent to you in your text. So one of the first things I want to talk about is a dirty grill, because I see it quite frequently. I've gone to visit others for barbecue and have witnessed the dirty grill. I've seen it at competitions. I've seen it at vending. I've seen it at benefits. Ladies and gentlemen, a dirty grill is not a sign of if not, it does not improve flavor. It does not improve flavor. All your grill is going to need is just a simple coating of smoke, of the oils that will travel with that smoke and latch onto the lids and the chambers of your pit. So thinking that anything extra is going to be helpful, it will not. I am not going to lie. So I saw a picture. I saw a picture earlier this week of a grill that the flakes on the lid, the creosote on the lid were fluttering like they were leaves on a tree. And I was thinking to myself, oh my goodness, do they not see that? Do they not see that, and do they not know the problems that can cause? You know, one slip of your of the lid handle from your hand, and that lid drops down onto your chamber. Those meats that you have on the pit are covered with those flakes, with that creosote, and that's almost impossible to get rid of. My man Z, we got Darwin in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a little bit since you've seen him. But he needs no introduction. We've seen and know of this gentleman. Welcome back, Z. Good to have you, man.
Good to be back.
So, Darwin, as we begin this chat, referencing some of the mistakes we as cooks have seen others make, common mistakes. No particular order as they come up. I wrote some of mine down. If you've got some of yours written down, no particular order. The first one I was hitting on.
I just have a few.
All right, so production's been busy. The first one I was hitting on was definitely a dirty grill, man.
Yes.
And I talked about it doesn't improve flavor. As a matter of fact, that grime and grit that builds up on those grates has a tendency to go sour, grow mold. And, a lot of people think that stuff is mitigated by heat. It is not. Those sour oils get onto your meat. That black, oily, tar-like substance get onto the meats. I've watched people drop fresh meats on their grates and instantly pick up that piece of meat to reposition it. And as I look at that underside, I am disgusted by the amount of black, oily mess that is stuck to that meat inside of 5 seconds. Yeah. Inside of 5 seconds.
Absolutely. Another thing is the, even if you want a clean grill, you've got to get out of it before, in front of it before you start cooking. Don't walk out there with all of your meat and you've got guests coming in a few hours and all of a sudden you realize you have 6 inches of water in the belly of your pit or your grill and you've got 5 inches of old sour coals sitting in your firebox and you have trays full of meat. Now's not the time to clean your pit. You should have done that the day after you cooked last time, right? And you should have scraped your pit down. Like I saw that picture you were talking about the other day. And that's not the first time I've seen the results of what can happen with all that stuff on the lid of a pit. I've seen 2 or 3 pit fires over the years to where you have grease build up that catches on fire and it will cause all of that buildup on the lid to drop down like a blanket on top of the meat. I saw that happen to 2 different guys at barbecue competitions. And I'll tell you what, when you have a sheet of crud fall down on top of your meat, there's no recovery. Man. You might as well just clean up and go get some hot dogs.
Yeah, there's no recovery from that. A couple more shout outs. Yosef, good to have you. My man James and Kemker, man, dude, if I don't give you an invite, you just don't holler at me. So welcome back, man. Welcome back. Brian, I'm sipping on a little yak, man. Here's to all of you ladies and gentlemen out there. Have a great evening. Second, man, I want to hit on is that was mine. What's one of yours?
Well, mine is, has to do a lot with entertaining, right? A lot of people are cooking at home and they're not prepared, If you're gonna make a meal for someone or group of people, get out ahead of it. Clean your barbecue pit. Make sure you have all your ingredients lined up. And probably one of my biggest things when it comes to entertaining is don't experiment on your guests. Don't try the new rub. Don't try that new technique you saw on Amazing Ribs, while you were up at 2 o'clock in the morning because you couldn't sleep. Don't try that the next day on your guests. Make sure you're giving them the best food that you can make, and not just barbecue meat. Make sure you're giving them some good side dishes to eat. Make sure you're prepping a nice dessert for them to have. It isn't, a lot of times when we talk about barbecue, that's all you focus on. But
guilty.
I don't eat like that. Yeah. I want some vegetables. I want the meat. I want barbecue meat. I would like to have some nice beverages. I would like to have a nice dessert. I'd like to have some appetizers. Put as much effort into everything else that you're going to make for your barbecue meal as you do putting the effort into the meat that you cook. And I think a lot of guys forget about that, you know.
I am guilty of that because I am the carnivore. I'm the one always. I want the meat. I want to cook the meat, and not that I forget about it because I know Mama's got that side of the shed covered, sides. So I primarily pay attention to the meats. But to piggyback on that, when you're entertaining, another mistake that I've seen people do, man, and I've had to step in and help out, is they try to cook too many different items for their guests.
Yeah.
They try to cook too many different items for their guests. And more often than not, they're working with a very small grill. Based on the items you're trying to cook, more often than not, they're going to require different temperatures. They're going to require different temperatures. And if you're trying to cook all this meat, all this different meat on that one grill, with the meats requiring different temperatures, you're going to run into problems. Some are probably going to burn. Others may not cook as fast as they're supposed to. So again, entertaining, I think one of the best things you can do is really minimize your menu. If you're going to entertain a lot of guests, minimize your menu. Stick to what you do best. If you want to give them three different barbecue items at the most. If they've got kids, they want hot dogs. They got kids, they want burgers. Then you do burgers, hot dogs, and maybe some chicken or pork butt.
Absolutely.
Burgers.
You want to make sure that, as often as I would like to eat barbecue, I can tell you right now that my wife, as much as she likes barbecue, she doesn't always want it. So offer something to the people who just aren't interested in eating smoked meat.
Yeah.
Make sure you have a chicken salad for them to eat, or something else, And, this is going to sound weird. I was thinking about this the other day, that people that I cook for are generally my friends, people that I love, And if one of those people, friends, relatives come over and they decide, you know what, I'm a vegetarian, I'm a vegan, and ahead of time, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go out of my way to make sure that I have a vegetarian dish or a vegan dish for them to eat. And I'm going to put as much care into that dish as I do anything else. I'm not going to take this hardcore stance of, well, this is Texas and we eat beef here. And, these are friends and people we love. So make sure you take good care of that. Make sure you get hot dogs for the kids and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for that one kid who won't eat anything else,
Absolutely.
Yeah, make sure you're taking care of your guests. Don't be a barbecue snob. That's not going to get you very far in this world.
It definitely will not, man. It definitely will not. And moving right along, man. One of the biggest things that we all, whether it's a Weber, whether it's a cheap offset, whether it's pellet, a big time offset, we have to know our grills. We have to know our grills. So everybody out there, get to know your grill, man. Especially if you're going to be entertaining, get to know your grills. Get to learn those hot spots, those cool spots. How long will this take? How long will that take? There's nothing more unforgiving than putting meat on in a grill that you just absolutely know nothing about. So very important that you get to know your grill.
Absolutely. I know that when people come over to my place for barbecue, they don't always get barbecue because I cook all kinds of stuff, I'm not just a barbecue guy. But if they know I'm cooking barbecue, I'm not going to try something out in left field. I'm going to go ahead and cook my go-to meats, the ones that are easiest, the ones that, because they're looking to be impressed. They're looking to say, hey, man, we want some of Darwin's ribs. So I'm going to go out of my way to make sure that I make the best ribs I can and, make sure everything is in order, And if I've got a new grill, you need to practice before you have a bunch of people over. That's my opinion. There's nothing worse than failing big time and pulling something frozen out of the freezer,
And something that a lot of people, especially people just getting into this grill game, this cooking outdoors game, aren't aware of is or take advantage of a 2-zone fire. I remember back in the days, it was all about loading that Weber or that drum or whatever you're cooking on, that barrel grill, loading it with charcoal, dropping some meat on. But now, as things have advanced, man, I've really come to appreciate the wonders of a 2-zone fire. You get a flare up on that hot side, you can just move your meats off to that cool side. And again, it doesn't take much in terms of a pit. A Weber is a great example, and I've shown it in our videos quite often, a great example of how effective a 2-zone fire can be. If you want to do a couple of burgers, man, you slap those on that hot side, you get flare-ups, you move them over to that cool side. So a 2-zone fire is effective for any type of meat that you might be grilling directly.
Big Will C3, baby, I love that photograph. You look a little surprised though.
Yeah. My man Byron, man, thank you so much for Byron. Thyron. Yeah, I can't even see today. I appreciate the love, man. It's gonna go a long way towards us getting some more videos out there. We're looking to go twice a week now. And while I'm here, folks, right now we're just about at 2,980 subscribers. So we're making slow but steady progress, and we really appreciate you guys. If you're not yet subscribed, let's see if we can't get us to that 3,000 subscriber mark in the next day or two. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. Hit that thumbs up button. The progress is slow, but it's steady, and we absolutely appreciate it, man. We want to continue giving you guys the good stuff, these awesome videos as best as we can. So thank you guys so much for these donations. You're gonna see some benefits. And again, for these donations, man, you're gonna be entered in a raffle each month. We're gonna be giving away some awesome swag. We've got some Traeger utensils for the grill. We've got some hats. We've got some good stuff. I'm not going to show them off again like I did last week. But let's get back to the good stuff. What's another one of yours, Z?
Well, we'll go back to actual barbecue, right? Let's say you're going to cook a brisket on your barbecue pit, and you're going to take, let's say, 10 hours, or whatever your timing is, and you're home. And it doesn't matter if you have guests coming, or you're going to cook it for yourself, or you're going to cook it to slice up and put it in the freezer. When you're at home, man, do not let the distractions of being at home take away from what you're doing on the pit, right? There's been more than one time where I've thought, you know what? I'm going to put 4 logs on that fire, and I'm going to go to H-E-B and do a little shopping, And I come back, and that whole bottom of my brisket has been turned into beef jerky, or the fire goes out, Pay attention to what you're doing at home. Don't start drinking beer at 10 o'clock in the morning. when you're home and lose track of what you're doing. Be serious about cooking, whatever you're cooking, when you're home. I know CJ and I, when, we would be at competition, we're pretty hardcore about that. We had a written schedule and everything was timed out and everything went by the book. You really you owe it to yourself to do the same thing at home.
At home, no doubt.
Don't start mowing the grass and pulling weeds in the garden. Focus on what you're doing.
That's the truth.
And get a good, because meat's expensive right now. I mean, I was pricing briskets day before yesterday, and I was amazed at how expensive some of these choice briskets were, which is typically what I cook at home. And I was really surprised at how expensive that got. And who can afford to drop $70 on a brisket and then burn it up? That's just silly. So pay attention on these long cooks and focus on what you're doing.
Yes, sir. Preach, baby. Preach. Preach. All right. Let's get back to fire management.
Yeah.
And this is, and both for grills as well as offsets. A lot of people aren't just aware of the importance of your intake vent versus your exhaust vent, and how to utilize those two items, those two pieces to help control your fire, whether you're cooking on a grill or an offset smoker. I am a firm believer, man. Rarely do I mess with the exhaust. I love my exhaust wide open. And I do 99% of my adjusting from the intake, where the oxygen enters your fire, your pit or your fire box. Now that is the opposite on a Jambo. All right, but any other pit, as far as I'm aware of, it is usually the intake. It is usually the intake. So, guys and gals, you're not looking for that thick white smoke. I know some of you have developed a real hankering and tolerance for heavy smoke, but for a lot of others that are sensitive to it, heavy smoke is going to be too much, and especially if you're having guests at the house. You want to tone that down. So learn how to control that fire using that intake to slow down or increase the amount of oxygen being fed to that fire.
And I can add to that, one of the things that I learned early on is to leave everything wide open. The intake wide open, the exhaust wide open, and control your temperature by the size of your fire. If you're using split logs, chunks, whatever you've got, whatever choice of fuel you're using as far as wood in a barbecue pit, like an offset, for instance, make sure you've got some different sizes. Maybe you've got some pieces that are just a couple of inches in diameter, 1 inch, 2 inches, and then your full, 4-inch splits. And if you just need a little temperature bump, go ahead and throw in some small pieces. If you want to go ahead and lay in your, once an hour, your 2 4-inch splits, go for that. Yep. But you definitely have to pay attention to the clean smoke and your fire management. That's the most important thing that a pit master needs to learn is fire management. And then when you start talking about different kinds of wood, now it even gets more complicated. If you're using hickory and mesquite, those are the 2 hottest burning woods. Then you go down into your oaks, which in my experience, by and large, are all about equal as far as how you use them. And then you drop down into something like pecan, where it pretty much goes from, that wood's lit on fire and it almost right away goes coal to ash. it doesn't stay on the coal bed very long. And it's your coal bed that is your source. It's not the flaming log. You know, it's the depth and width of your coal bed that you want. That's how come the harder woods work better. So, you know, take a little time to learn about this stuff and pay attention to the kind of wood you use. And if you want to use pecan as a flavoring wood, great. You know, add it to your oak to give a little extra flavor if that's what you like to do. But you definitely got to pay attention to that fire.
No doubt, man. No doubt. And like Darwin said, folks, you will be surprised how far a great bed of coals will take you. It's probably the most important thing in the cooking process to maintain that great bed of coals. You know, you don't want to see that big flaming red fire in your pit. You just want to see a nice, gentle flicker of flames, man, with that awesome red bed of coals. And it means that you are in business. You are tracking. Daddy D, what's up, man? Welcome aboard. Rick, how's everybody doing? All right, just moving along. I'm trying to stay caught up and listen to Z on the message. All right, thank you guys again for those donations, man. That is awesome. That is awesome. Z, do you have another? Mistakes that is commonly made?
Absolutely. One of the ones that I see a lot of people, and this is on grilling mostly. Let's say you're cooking on a Weber, you're doing chicken, burgers. When you put that food on there, let it cook a little while before you start flipping and turning and jostling that stuff around. You know, you do not have to start turning that chicken the minute it hits the grill. Let it cook for 10 or 15 minutes before you flip that over. You're not helping your cooking by moving that food around every 2 or 3 minutes. You know, I understand. I'm not a great steak cook. I like to cook steak on a cast iron skillet in the house as opposed to on a live fire. That's my taste. But I understand that, you know, flipping a steak quickly is one of the preferred methods. But for chicken, burgers, pork chops, maybe not. Let that stuff sit before you start moving it around, because all you're going to do is rub all the seasoning off of it. First of all, it's all going to end up on the grates burning up, and you're not going to have any of that seasoning left on your food. That's one of the things that, you know, and I struggle with that with my wife. As good a cook as she is, she often wants to constantly flip it as soon as the stuff's on the grill, and it's just not a good idea.
And what one has to understand, Z, is that when that cold food or that room temperature food hits that hot grate, it immediately sticks.
Mm-hmm.
It immediately sticks. And if you wait long enough, if you wait the appropriate amount of time for that Maillard reaction, that caramelization to take place, that sticky piece of meat loosens up.
Yep.
And you can pretty much just pick it up and flip it, maintaining that beautiful color, those marks that you might have achieved, the whole 9 yards. So don't be in a hurry to flip, to move, to pick up your meats. And I love that you said that that does work with steaks, because I have found that if you're doing 30 or 45 seconds flip on a steak, it really, really evens out that cook.
Right.
To the point where you can end up with that beautiful char on both sides without that gray creeping down into the center. Because as you flip one side, that side that's now on top cools down. It doesn't stop cooking completely, but it cools down. And that's all you're doing. So as you're getting that color, you are really putting a little char to that cool side. And it is not creeping down into the center of that meat. And you end up with that beautiful pink almost from top to bottom. So that's a great move.
You bet. You know, and let's talk about barbecue seasoning a minute. I recently, I went to make some rub last weekend just for the house. Every 6-8 weeks, I have to mix up what we call here house rub. Just your basic, and I do it different every time. I have a big basket that's full of all kinds of spices and herbs. And every six weeks or so, I got to mix up a couple of cups, for my everyday rub. But I didn't have the black pepper. I ran out of salt. There were a few things I didn't have. So I ran up to the grocery store and I picked up a couple of containers of rub, not a whole lot bigger than a beer can. They were like $10.
Oh yeah.
$11.
Oh, yeah.
They're expensive, and I get it. I'm not trying to take business away from all of our friends that make rubs, but let me tell you something. It's easy to make a good rub. So I encourage you to, get some of Steve Reichlin's books. I'm sure everybody's got some of those, Barbecue Bible or whatever. Doesn't matter what. And get some good spices, even if you get it from the bulk section at your local grocery store, or you order from Pendry's or any one of these online spice places. Start making your own stuff. That'll help your creativity on the grill immensely and actually save you a ton of money.
Zeke, man, you're in my head to a degree because what's up, James? Welcome aboard, baby.
How's it going, brother CJ?
All is well, man. Good to have you this evening.
Yeah,
James, met Darwin. All
Darwin,
right,
nice to meet you, Darwin.
How you doing, brother?
Good. I hear a lot about Darwin. So it's
man. Don't believe everything you
don't believe it.
Some of them are lies. I'm not going to even lie. Yeah.
Well, it isn't anything bad, so I think you're safe.
But we were just talking. Darwin was talking about making your own rubs, and just in the last 3 weeks, I've started working, and I have no intentions. I have no intentions of trying to sell this or ship it or anything like that. It is just something that I really want to get down to the point where I am in love with it here at the house. And if I get it to where I want it, I think it's going to be something that I am going to be able to use in competitions that's going to set me apart.
Yeah.
So it's not something I'm looking to sell or market, but it's definitely something that I'm working on right now, and I'm not far away. I am not far away. But James, as you saw, go ahead, James.
I was going to say, if when you do come out with it and keep having that success, that might change for you. I know the plan isn't to bottle up and sell it. That isn't the original goal right now. But
yeah, it's just a tough market, man.
Yeah,
it's a tough market. It requires some labor. It requires some investment, and it's a tough market. The market is flooded with products. And we know that. So not something that I'm really interested in. I've had my opportunities to put my name on our name on rubs in the past, and I've always turned it down. So not really something I'm interested, but I'm really feeling this particular rub I'm working on, and we shall see, man. But James, we've been talking, and you've been watching for a little bit. We've been talking about mistakes that cooks make, on the grill or on the pit, whatever the case might be. Do you have one that we have not mentioned yet?
So I've kind of been in and out. So I've heard of some of the ones that y'all mentioned, and I don't know if y'all mentioned this one, but and then this one comes to mind because it's one that I was guilty of early on. When I'm trying a recipe out, and particularly like at a comp, and I'm not hitting with it, I felt like I had to completely change it all around. Instead of changing, one or two ingredients, say if it was a rub, just start all over from scratch and make something new instead of changing. Maybe you drop or change one kind of sugar for a different kind of sugar. Trying that out. I think when you start to change too many things at one time, you don't know exactly what it is that is the
That
issue.
made a difference.
Right. So
Exactly right.
you just right back where you started, and then people get frustrated and to hell with it, and kind of give up on that. I think that's one that a lot of the younger cooks, like I said, myself when I first started, was one that I made a lot. Feeling like, this recipe isn't working. I got to change it. I got to do something different instead of just changing one or two ingredients, slightly, and figuring it out. Doing that trial and error.
Yeah, that was something I learned fairly early on, man, in this game. That when you start tweaking, when you start making changes, do one at a time and see if that made a difference. Because you start doing 2 and 3 of them, you will never be able to tell which one or which couple made the difference. So
absolutely, and having being able to confide in another cook, right? Like I've been fortunate. I could bounce ideas off of CJ. I could bounce ideas off of Craig Sherry from Texas Pepper Jelly, right? I could ask those guys, hey, I made this adjustment. What do you think? And you got to have somebody to give you some feedback, and it can't be your neighbor who you're constantly giving free barbecue to.
Yeah.
Because he's like, no, it's all good, baby,
When you're feeding friends and family for free, of course they're gonna love it.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
They're eating for free.
If you can get another competent cook that can give you some good solid feedback, and not everybody can do it. Not everybody can do that. And like CJ could nail it right away. But when I ask Craig Sherry for feedback, I have to kind of think about that a while, because he's a little
Craig is a different animal
around the edges sometimes.
Yeah, Craig is a different animal.
So I have to kind of think about that and say, okay, what did he really mean when he said that sucks?
Yeah. Guys, gals, I'm still playing catch up with these comments, man. Welcome aboard, Joe Everett. Fire management is law. No ifs, ands, or buts. Thank you, Millennial. We appreciate that, man. We appreciate your support. He said, PPC says, nothing takes my mind off an 80-piece meat in on the smoker. well, I've got a little story, and this was in year number 2 of competitions, where my buddy Paul's wife was it was a hot day, and she was making these drinks, serving them out of 32-ounce styrofoam cups. And back then I was in love with Bacardi Limon, Sprite, and grapefruit juice.
I can see where this is going.
Oh my goodness. It's such a refreshing drink on a hot day. And she was just mixing them and bringing them as I needed. And they were going down so well. And I did not realize my condition until, I don't know, I stood up after a couple of hours, and man, I was 2 sheets into the wind. And I absolutely forgot we had brisket on the pit, because my buddy Paul, my partner Paul said, are we ready for that brisket? And I'm talking about what brisket? So that is a running joke that we had. So that was one of the few times where I let something else get in the way. Doesn't happen very frequently. It doesn't happen right now. But that was a lesson learned. Yeah, that was a lesson learned. Trumpet Master, you know how to get a hat, man. Get a hold of me. We'll make that happen. Good to have you.
Millennials asking bite.
So another thing I could say is make a
Go ahead.
game plan. Make a game plan for yourself and stick to it. You know,
Yes.
if you normally put one wrap of foil, if you use foil, then don't put three on a whim, saying, "Oh man, maybe I'll just do instead of I broke the foil. I'm just going to put two more wraps over it." Let me tell you a story of what happened to me. So years back, Craig Sherry, he managed to get a hold of some 24-inch foil. I mean, this stuff was wide and it was extra heavy duty, thickest aluminum foil I ever saw in my life. He didn't like it, so he asked me if I wanted it. And it was a big roll, man. It was expensive. It was like $100 roll of aluminum foil, So I said, sure, I'll take it. So I went ahead and put 2 layers of that extra heavy duty aluminum foil. That was like 6 layers of what I normally put.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm sticking my probe at a competition, right? Like I got all this foil, and I'm like, man, that's tough. My meat's still tough. I go a little longer, and it never seemed to get tender, So finally, I'm like, man, I better check inside. So I open up all this foil. I had like a meatloaf on my hands, right? Because it was all that foil that temperature probe was having to fight through. It wasn't the meat, it was the aluminum foil that was causing the problem, right? So I went off of my game plan, right? So stick to your plan, stick to what you normally do to get successful grilled meats or successful barbecue. Stick to your game plan. Don't be changing up in the middle of your cook, especially if you're at a competition or you have guests arriving in 2 hours. Don't start deviating at that point. Now's not the time for you to get creative and be the artist. Just execute what you know and get it done.
And kind of to piggyback on that a little bit, I would say that this is part of the reason why I'm a big believer in always using the same product. If you use a certain foil, or always use that same one. If you're using a certain bottled water for your injections, always use that same one, and then try to make it one that you could find, almost anywhere, like at HEB, at a Walmart, or a big name grocery box store, in case you're out traveling somewhere. But I think you get used to the way certain things taste, the way certain things feel, and then like you just mentioned, Darwin, when switching up that foil completely got you out of just being able to stick your probe in there or whatever you're using and just feeling, which is how you were normally doing it. Yep. So I'm a big believer in always trying to use the same product. If you're using a certain honey, always try to use the same honey, whatever the product is.
Yeah. Now along those
honey is a discussion we could spend a long time talking about because honey is not honey. I mean, you can get
all honey is not honey.
Clover honey from up in Kansas area, or big difference in flavor, man, and it
will bring something different to the party. Now, to go back to wrapping in multiple layers and having trouble with that probe, I learned that very early when playing with butcher paper. I will see people, man, that roll out 8 feet of butcher paper and just wrap that brisket. I mean, I don't know what they're trying to do. I have found a major difference in trying to probe through 1 layer versus 2.
Yeah.
With butcher paper. So these individuals that I see with the 4 and 5 rolls, I'm like, wow, that is going to be interesting, because that paper actually hugs your probe more than aluminum foil does.
Yeah.
I have noticed a significant difference. So I've been very careful now, man. I've got my briskets usually trimmed to about the same sizes. I know exactly how much butcher paper I need. And I'm doing pretty much what I do. My bottom is 2 layers, and then my top is 1 layer. And I'm probing through that 1 layer. So measure your butcher paper out. That way you're not using too much and really, really getting a bad read when you're checking for tenderness.
And I'll tell you, with butcher paper, man, I really think that less is more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's you want like 1 layer over the top, because the reason of going from aluminum foil to butcher paper is to not keep so much of that moisture in there. Let some of that come out a little bit. That's been my experience, and I don't have a ton of experience with it. I've cooked a few times with it. I really like my results. I'm actually pretty new to it, just because I'm a creature of habit, and I started with foil, but I'm pretty much all into paper now. But
no doubt,
less is more when it comes to paper, for sure.
Oh yes, absolutely. Millennial Broadcast has a great question. Does anyone have any tips for getting bite through or even crispy skin?
Well, I guess he's talking about chicken, right?
Yeah. Or turkey.
First of all, grill it. Do not brine it if you want crispy skin.
Yeah.
Do not smoke it if you want crispy skin. If you want crispy skin, go ahead and grill it. One of the best chickens I ever made, and you'll have to kind of transpose this information from an oven to a grill. But I one time took a chicken and I air dried it for a few hours. I mean, I dried it with paper towels. I got that skin dry and I rubbed it with butter, right? And I got that chicken a little bit warmer. And I know a lot of people get all flipped out about letting your chicken come up to room temperature. But if you can get your chicken up to 60, 70 degrees and rub that skin with some salted butter and roast it, you will have the most amazing crispy skin on a roasted chicken. And it will translate to a grilled chicken if you do it that way, So it takes practice, but that's really the only way to get a true crispy skin is by drying it and grilling it. Otherwise, all bets are off.
Millennial, we've got a video out there, man. Crispy skin chicken halves, and it was one of our early videos. And some purists might say, all right, baking powder, baking soda on chicken skin, that's not grilling, whatever the case might be. But I salted and sprinkled a little baking powder. The baking powder affects something. It's some science. The baking powder affects the pH in the skin, which really causes it to dry and crisp during the cook. Now, I have found, because I've experimented with longer drying sessions in the fridge, I've got it on a wire rack out in the open, skin side up. And 12 hours can be a little too long. I've found about 8 hours max is best. Once you go beyond 8 hours, you can dry that skin out to the point where it becomes a little leathery. Especially with that additional salt, with that salt on there. So 8 hours is best. If you can go a minimum of 4 hours, max of 8 hours, you're going to be golden with that little bit of baking powder sprinkle on there. And I use a baking powder without aluminum. Some people are sensitive to the aluminum baking powder. It creates a real bitter, dark taste, from what I understand. So Rumsford is the aluminum that I use, is the baking powder that I use. It has no aluminum. And it really, really does work. The title of the video is how to cook IBCA crispy skin chicken or something along those lines, Mom and Papa Joe. And we had crispy skin. You could hear the skin. You could see the way it cut in the video. So it can be done. If you're not ready for the baking powder, that drying process will help. That drying process will help. And then ultimately, the day of the cook, you're going to need some high heat. You're going to need some high heat to get that to render and crisp up to the bite through action.
Yeah. Now, there's plenty of information on the internet about that baking powder technique. I know I turned a few people on to that 10, 12 years ago that are still doing it on their chicken. I felt like, for me, it was great until I put sauce on it.
Yeah.
And then once you put sauce on it,
it's a good deal.
All that crispiness goes away anyway. So if you want crispy skin, don't plan on putting sauce on it because that just undoes everything you did.
And that's me here at the house, man. Somebody commented on the chicken video we did earlier this week that I said I wasn't going to eat the one I put the sucker busters on, but that's the one first.
I know. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
he's eating all her chicken.
I kind of went to work when I watched the video myself. I was like, wow. But it was delicious. Yeah, it was delicious. Yeah, Darnell, 325 or higher, man. And if I'm cooking on a pellet grill, I love 375. If I'm cooking on a pellet grill, on my Weber, I love that 325. On my Weber, I love that 325. So again, you just got to figure out whatever you're cooking on and adjust it based on what you're cooking. But now, awesome. All right, another one of my mistakes that I've seen people make, man, is marinating meats too long.
Yeah.
At home, especially based on what you are marinating, the meat that you're marinating, and what you're marinating it in. If you're using citrus or lemon, pineapple juice, or something along those lines, you've got to be very careful about what meat you're going to put into that marinade, because those acids over time will begin to act on those meats.
Yeah.
Can make them mush. It can actually start chemically cooking those meats. So understand what your marinade is made of, and then decide what meat you're going to put into that particular marinade.
I agree.
Fish
One of the mistakes I made early on was using a buttermilk marinade for barbecue chicken. And it works great if you can figure out the timing just right. But you soak some chicken in some buttermilk, and that skin will burn so fast. You won't even believe how quick that everything will just be charred on that chicken skin.
I never knew that.
Yeah, and you just have to work out your timing. It works good, because you've all heard of buttermilk fried chicken. There's a reason that they do it that way.
Yeah.
And you can do it on barbecue chicken, but it's just such a fine line walking the fence on timing. I could never get it right, so I abandoned that project. But if you've got the guts to try and figure out the timing on that as a competition cook, go for it, because it can really help your chicken skin, Man,
all right. I'd never known that. Hey, I see some new faces, man. Brian V, welcome aboard. Burnt Ends. Gabriel, how are you guys doing? TNT is still hanging around. Man, I'm glad to see you guys here, man. TNT, I have not seen you in a little bit, bro. I got to give you a holler, man. Hey, yeah, that noise is James playing with his little...
Yeah, I tried to take his toy away, but he ran off with it.
Yeah, that's...
Sorry about that.
And my boy Dre is here.
All day.
Yeah.
I won't hear it all day until I hit live, or something.
All right, and this is a great tip from my boy Stupid Bear. Make sure make sure your wife knows there's no fire in the firebox when packing up after the last turn in before she puts the charcoal bag inside. I was at that event. Yeah. I was at that event. That was Bishop. Yeah, that was Bishop.
That's funny.
TNT. I started to put your question up on the screen, but something else got in the way. TNT asked, when am I going to do another brisket video? TNT, I know people love these brisket videos, man. I could do a video every week, brisket, and it would get 1,000 views in a couple of days. You know, I'm no Smoking Joel or Dogfather or James. I don't get them in one day. It'd take me a couple of days. But it will definitely happen with a brisket video. But man, I get so tired of cooking briskets. I really want to cook a bunch of different things that we don't see very often. So I've got another brisket video coming up. I want to do one on my offset, but I'm at the point now, man. Unless it's a competition, I do not want to fire up the Jambo for one brisket or 2 racks of rib. I don't want to pull it out the garage. So I am currently in the works with my man Cannon Pits and Fabrications, and looking to get a nice backyard offset, so I can start doing some offset videos without having to pull the pit out of the garage. I had a Oklahoma Joe's offset prior to YouTube, and it was just sitting on the deck, man, and I sold it. I sold it about 3 years ago. So I'm looking to replace that with a Canon fabricated pit in the next couple of months or so. I'll get back to doing some offset videos.
Are you gonna build yourself a little barbecue shack back there?
Z, I can't even find a hammer in this house. So we
I
may
got a bunch of hammers, baby. I'll help you build one. You see my barbecue shack? I'll build you something.
But yes, we do have plans, man, for the area our hot tub is in. We're looking to pull that hot tub out of there and turn that into an outdoor kitchen.
Man, you could use it. You could boil your ribs in the hot tub, man.
Burnt ends, what's happening, baby? Good to see you, man.
Don't ever do a boiled rib video or a crock pot rib video, because you would not hear the end of it, and don't ask me how I know. I try to do one, for folks who maybe live in an apartment but wanted to make some ribs, and don't have a pit. So I did this crock pot rib video. Oh man, I thought I was gonna get run out of Texas.
You know what? For the guy that just I don't know the name of the fellow who was asking about doing another brisket video.
That was Thyron.
All right, so I don't know how much you cook, but just cook more brisket yourself. You probably don't need any more brisket instruction. You need to practice more.
There's a lot of cooking.
I don't know what you're doing. I don't. Maybe you just like watching CJ do brisket videos, which is cool, but cook more, man.
Z, Thyron has been catering and vending and at the barn dances and everything else like crazy for the last couple of months. He hasn't done a regular YouTube cooking video. All he's done was videos from fairs. So he's cooking lots of briskets. He's cooking lots of pork butts. He's doing all those things.
Forget about what Darwin just said.
Yeah, I think he just wants to be entertained. He just wants to be entertained. Yeah. I am trying to get caught up to these questions, folks.
I like listening to you too, CJ.
Yeah, if you asked a question that we did not get to, please, man, put it back in the chat, and I will try to get to it, man. I will try to get to it because I'm trying to pay attention to the conversations as well as watch the chat. All right.
I just told Andre that you are going to do a case with you
Here's something else that I have seen people not do. I know, over the last 4 or 5 years, the use of grill grates have really exploded. I mean, everybody loved to see those awesome hatch marks on a steak. Now you're starting to see them on chicken. And I guess there's some people, there's some people who don't understand how important it is to heat up, to preheat those grill grates. I understand. I can't remember the name of the alloy that they're made out of, how they get hotter than the fire or something along those lines. You still got to give those things 10, 12 minutes or so to really soak up that heat and get hot. Otherwise, if you put them on the fire, don't wait for them to heat up and drop your meat on them. Your meat is going to immediately cool them down even further. And you're not going to end up with those beautiful hatch marks that you were out to get. Anybody ever witnessed that?
Yeah, so I use my grill grates a lot, particularly my chicken, the jailbird chicken, and I've noticed that. So now, when I start my fire, my Weber, get my grill grates on there, I'll let it go for a good 20 minutes maybe, just to get really, really hot. And then when I get my chicken on there, it still doesn't. I was first worried that it would be too hot and sear and tear the skin, but you're right that it actually is. I don't have that problem, so I think you're right that it actually does cool it down initially once you put your meat on there. But I only leave it on for about a minute and a half on one side or in one direction, so it doesn't affect the skin as far as ripping it. But I have noticed that when I put it on too early, I got to leave that chicken skin side down for a good 3 minutes or so just to get the grill marks. Right. The release. So getting them up there to a higher temperature before you put your meat on, it's definitely something I think you need to do, and not just get your fire going and then get it on and hope that you get those grill marks.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've been cooking on a Weber just for convenience, and the actual meat grade of the Weber has gotten rusty, over time. And I went to replace it today. I went to Home Depot to see if I could get a replacement, and they didn't have one. And I thought, man, if I'd had grill grates, I wouldn't even have to worry about replacing that grate when they get rusty, because grill grate won't ever do that. So I ended up buying this little 10 by 18 stainless steel, like a vegetable pan. And it worked great. I grilled chicken and mild Italian sausage tonight for supper. And it worked fantastic. But I got to tell you, having grill grates on any of your grills is going to be great. Even if you don't care about the hatch marks, you won't ever have to worry about corrosion, first of all. Yeah. You just keep them clean, and you won't ever have to worry about, rusty grates. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and order some of the grill grates for the Weber, the round, the oval. I think they're oval. Yeah. As I had them on my the pit that I sold Will, my old competition pit, I had them on my chicken cooker in there, but they went with the pit. So I'm definitely going to get some grill grates just because you don't ever have to fool with them, man. You clean them up and they don't rust. And they're just terrific. They're a nice piece of gear. So anyone
most of it burns off anyway.
What's that?
Most of it burns off in any old skin or meat that might be on there, or seasoning, burns off once you put it on the grill to heat up, and so it just makes it easier to clean. Yeah. So you're right about that grill grate, or not the grill grate, the regular grate. If it is dirty or whatever, that's not touching your food at all.
Right.
So.
Yes, sir. TNT says, my man Thyron says, a dull knife is one of the worst mistakes people can make to get people killed. And dude, yeah, I can't put that any better, man. If you're going to be working around meats, a dull knife is a huge mistake. You know, I don't have any fancy high priced knives, but man, I keep all my cheap knives sharp and they get the job done. Some of you have seen those trimming videos. My knives are cheap, but they're very sharp. So very important that you're slicing, you're trimming, you're cutting with sharp knives. And this was some years ago. Darwin showed me how to use a honing steel. I didn't have one. Went out and got one. And man, I've been using that honing steel along with a stone to really keep my knives sharp. And again, it's a cheap stone. It's a cheap knife. But man, they get the job done. Like I said, you've seen those trimming videos. Very important.
Yeah, you don't have to spend a lot of money on an expensive knife. I've had knives, Dexter Russell, the Santa Safe. They have the white handle or the Victorinox Fibrox handle knives. Either one of those two. I've had my knives for 25 years, and I hit them on a stone once a year. And other than that, they go. I hit them on my sharpening steel, and I'm good to go. But listen, guys, I got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work, so I'm going to duck out. So peace to you all. Great to see you. And
it's been a pleasure. Always a pleasure, Z.
You bet. You guys have a great night.
All right.
Take care,
Take
everyone.
care.
Have a good one.
Hey, James Tom says, is those Hatchmark chickens a Mark Trey? And not the first time I've heard that. But the fact that more and more people are doing them, right. I think it has lessened the chances of it being really considered a Mark Trey. I've never done it. I flipped my chicken over to get a char, but now with CBA, I'm not so much worried about that char because the parents does mean something. But enough people are doing the hatch marks to where there won't be 20 or 30 Mark Trays at a competition. So I don't see any problem with that. Yeah, I don't see any problem.
And, I mean, all the cookouts that I do, like I don't have any family there or anything that the judges that know how I cook. And it's half the time I'll do it that way. It kind of depends on where I'm at. Sometimes I'll do it like with the butter bath, especially now that I learned this past weekend. The IBCA, the whole scoring system when it comes to appearance. I think I'm going to have to go back to the old butter bath thing for the appearance. But I'll mix it up, kind of depending on where I'm at.
Yeah,
on how I cook it, and so it's something that I'll do some of the times and not all the time. But I mean, you're right. I'm seeing a lot of other people do it also. So for someone to say, well,
it's not a problem.
There's 65 teams here, and he's the only one.
Yeah, then that's different. Yeah, but lots of teams are doing it, so definitely not a problem. TPC, very true, man. There are a lot of so-called purists, traditionalists. That anytime you step outside the box or step outside their box, they think that you're not keeping it real. That baking powder, one of those things. Just recently, I had somebody in one of my videos comment that only people who can't cook use pellet grills. They're easy bake ovens, the whole 9 yards. I'm like, man, where did that pellet grill touch you? Why are you so angry? I mean,
show me on this grill where it touched you.
Yeah, exactly. We're going on 100 uploads, and I've cooked on just about every pit I've got out back. And he chose the one cook on a pellet grill, that particular cook on a pellet grill. to want to throw some shade. But hey, if they don't know, they don't know, and
Yeah.
I'm not going to sweat them, man.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest topic on every damn Facebook group, barbecue Facebook group I'm a part of. That's why I don't
Yeah,
really get into it. And
exactly.
that
And I
one
don't get,
subject,
yeah,
I see it and I'm like, okay, here we go. Here
yeah.
goes another one.
I don't
Daily.
get involved either. Yeah, I don't get involved either, man. All right, so one last mistake, man, before we shut this puppy down, and a lot of backyarders do it. They sauce too early, and or they let their sauce sit on their meats too long.
Too long.
What are your thoughts on that, James?
So, when I'm saucing, it's usually, well, obviously at the very end, and it's only for a few minutes, heated up,
Yeah.
really thin layer. I think, and I've seen some other guys that have been around cooking around who will put too much sauce and then leave it on too long, and particularly once they let's say ribs, for example, the ribs get done too early, they'll go ahead and sauce them, kind of throw them in a camber or something, or even leave them out, and you can see that sauce will start to clump up, depending on what the weather is outside. Sometimes I even see them leaving it on the counter, like in the RV. You got the AC running, so obviously it's cooler in there. Man, I'm last minute, and it's just for a few minutes, right before going into the turn-in box. And sometimes I don't let the sauce set like back on the pit. Sometimes I will, kind of depending on like the weather. If it's colder outside, a colder day, I might throw them on real quick, just to kind of make sure that sauce stays a little bit warmer.
Nicely, yeah.
On a warmer day, like this past weekend, that isn't a huge concern for me. But I try not to put mine on too long or too early.
No, I'm with you. I am the same way. And I think a lot of people, man, especially beginners, one of the first things they get told about is 3, 2, 1. That's one of the first things they get told about is 3, 2, 1s. Or they do some Googling and boom, 3, 2, 1 pop up. I've yet to understand how somebody gets 3, 2, 1 to work, because I've never even thought about trying it. But thinking about an hour of the sauce sitting in the pit, it just does not seem to come out to anything that I would want to serve or eat myself. When I'm saucing here at the house, man, my sauce is 6, 7 minutes on the pit. Some people are gonna. I've actually watched videos where people sauce halfway through their cook, and that sauce stays on there for the next however long that is. Burn up, get dark. So that is a huge mistake, guys and gals. If you leave your sauce on too long, it dries out. It really dries out, and can become almost like a candy type shell. It really gets hard. You've lost the moisture. You've lost that zip that sauce was supposed to provide. So ideally, man, you're looking about 5 minutes, and usually when I'm doing 5 to 7 minutes, I'm doing 7 minutes. My pit is no longer running at that high temperature that it was during the cook. My pit is dropped 50, 75 degrees.
Mine's already shut down.
Yeah. I'm saucing on a much cooler pit. So be very careful about that. If you want to get the maximum amount of flavor, all right, the maximum benefit from your sauce, leave it on there for very few minutes. We've got competitions now where people are using the residual heat from their meats to warm up and to tighten up that sauce. They never put it back on the pit. They never
That's
put
what
it
I was
back.
saying earlier. If it's a hot day, I
Yeah,
won't even go back on the pit.
yeah.
You know, I'll
And
just use
it
that
absolutely
residual
works.
heat.
Yeah, because all you're trying to really do, man, is to sap a little bit of the water from that sauce just to really amp up that little zip that it's going to give you on top of that meat. So all you're trying to do is take out a little bit of the moisture to amp up the flavor, and that will work.
Barbecue says SBS. I set sauce for 3 to 5 minutes.
All right, this is my man. Yeah, my man, Manny. Yeah, my man Manny has been doing awesome.
I just saw that. I'm glad you clicked on that comment. Yeah. I just saw that.
Yeah, he only sauces for 3 to 5 minutes. All right, and oh, great! And I forgot to mention this. I love for that sauce because when I sauce and put it back on the pit, I will throw a raw piece of flavored wood in there just to get some quick smoke to that sauce.
Yeah.
So absolutely, to grab some smoke, Manny. Great point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jaime says 3, 2, 1 never worked for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand it, Jaime. I do not understand it.
Yeah, like Manuel was saying, like when I'm doing chicken, I don't use wood at all. Until I go to sauce it, then I'll drop a couple of either if I have wood chips, you know, just a few wood chips in there, or like one small wood chunk, just so that way that little smoke can grab onto that sauce.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, James, you got anything else? Anybody else in the chat got anything, man? We're going on an hour and a half, and I'm usually right around an hour, try to keep it to. But we had some good conversationists and some good conversations going. So we're still here. Really appreciate you guys hanging out with Mom and Papa Joe's tonight, man. Once again, if you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do so. We're trying to hit that 3,000 mark in the next couple of days. Thank you guys as usual for your awesome support, man. Keep watching our videos. We're going to try to keep giving you the good stuff. All right, Charles, thank you so much, Charles. Walter McDowell says they don't. Walter McDowell says, where did that comment go? Yeah.
Don't come out tender if you don't wrap.
Walter says they don't come out tender if you don't wrap. Walter, what are you talking about? Ribs?
Brisket? Ribs.
Yeah, brisket I can understand. Walter, watch my last no wrap rib video on the WSM.
Yeah.
It's only a couple of 3 weeks old. No wrap ribs on the WSM. And tell me that they weren't money. Money. Hey, we appreciate you guys, man. I want everybody to have a great evening, James. Thank you so much for hanging out with Mom and Papa Joe's, man. Ladies and gentlemen, till the next time, holler at your boy.
Later.
Later, buddy.